Hi, Trippy the Tall Trainer here. I asked Brent and Erin if they could spare a little bit extra time on their busy schedules. I wanted to talk a little bit more on the mental health side, because I think there's a lot of people out there that could use the encouragement, like you sharing more of these the stories and things like that. I think will be really, really helpful there. So, I guess you guys come from different angles, on some of this too. Erin,
yeah.
why don't you kind of kick this off? Just give us a little more story.
Okay.
About like you're just, your husband, you met you.
We're high school sweethearts.
When did you notice he was?
Well, he had always. So we dated since we were in 8th grade. Like we
So cute.
grew up together. So as he developed, I developed. I saw everything that happened. So obviously in like high school, he would like go out and party or whatever, and I did not. Like I think it's almost like he wanted to keep me safe. Like, he didn't ask me to join him or whatever, which is crazy. He would go get wild and crazy with his friends, and I was safe at home. And that's kind of the way it went for our whole relationship. Like I felt like I was his good, like it's so crazy. But and he would always tell me, you're what keeps me going, and it was crazy. So we went through there. I did go to college, but I commuted, and he went right to work, and he didn't go to college. And then we were living together at 18, and he would drink and party or whatever. But when he started to get...
What kind of work was he doing?
So he did construction with my uncle for a while, and my uncle would drink too, so it's really started with that. And then...
Work hard, party hard a little bit.
Yeah.
Kick back, relax.
Yeah. And then I don't remember, actually his grandmother died, and he decided that was going to be a change for him. I don't even know how. So we were like 20, and his grandma died, I believe, and he decided he needed a real job. So that's when he started to sell cars. And then he was really, really successful selling cars. He moved up the line.
Seems like a great people person.
Yes, he was
a great job for that.
He was such a people person. And he actually started with the heroin when we moved into our new house. Like, we had made it. Like, all of his dreams were coming true. He bought his family a house. His kids were getting older. Like, there was success. He was making great money. Like, he was basically on top of the world. Like, there was nothing else he wanted. And I don't know what happened, but for that entire 5 years, it was hard. Like, he told me right away when he did it at first. Like, right away he told me, because we shared a lot of stuff, and from the point he started, it was a struggle the entire time to try and fix it.
So once he got going on that, it was...
And it was always, as me, like, I did try to do some self-care, but it was always, like, I tried to eat healthy, and I tried to exercise and, keep the peace and all that, but it was super tough.
Trying to balance that out.
Yeah.
I mentioned like there were waves to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, he would every day. He used every day for a while, and then he would go away, and he would get better, and it would be fine. But it was always like, I'm gonna go to the gas station, or I'm gonna do this, and like he had spent this time getting clean. I'm like, are you really gonna go to the gas station? Like that was always, So, but there was definitely waves, and that's the way it was. Like he would go to rehab, he would get out. He even when he was out of rehab, like inpatient rehab, he would still go to outpatient rehab. So he was always involved in something, but there was always that trigger or whatever it was. It was happy and lows for him too.
So a celebratory thing and a depressed thing.
Yep.
It filled both.
Yep.
Both roles on.
And he stopped drinking when he started to do that. Like he did not drink anymore. And that was always his big vice, I think, was drinking at first. But
and he found that as well. Yeah, that's tough. I like thinking about it just from a guy's perspective.
Yeah.
On that, just I'm thinking about it. You might be thinking about it too. Getting to that point where you have the house paid off, you have everything.
Not paid off, but just.
Well, not paid off, but yeah, you have the house.
Yeah.
You have things rolling. Everything's happening.
He's making good money. He's supporting his family because I stayed home.
I feel like sometimes there is an anxiety that comes up from that.
Oh yeah.
Because there's like a fear of losing.
Oh yeah.
You have
That's
you have so much more to lose.
He was always like that.
And you feel like you're.
You get a lot of pressure.
I always said that the world was on Joe's shoulders. The whole entire world, he put it right on his shoulders all the time. No matter how I tried to help or what I tried to do, the whole entire world was on his shoulders always.
It's like you're acting in a role that you don't deserve.
Exactly.
In some ways too.
Yep.
Brent, you've had some interesting, backstory.
Yeah.
And stuff too. You shared a good chunk already on one of our videos there. But what can you speak about? Anything you thought about while Erin was talking?
Well, to your point, I think as guys, our instinct is to, support the family and manage the household, and as we get fancier cars, we get new houses and all that stuff. It puts all this pressure on us to keep it afloat, to pay the bills and.
Absolutely.
So I think that we end up finding some kind of vice or outlet of some sort to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. And for him to go away for help meant that he couldn't work, and that was huge. And I would always tell him, I don't care if I lose everything.
Yeah.
He was the most important thing, which is so sad because unfortunately we lost him. But that's what I always said. But he would not let that happen. That was his big thing, and I always would offer, I tried I did everything I could. Let's sell the house and move in with my parents or whatever. I just didn't even. I wanted him to get better, but that's taking a dip into his pride. I felt like, and he's like, no way, that can't happen.
Sure.
Then it's like you failed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was big on pride.
Yep.
He was very big on pride. I think I don't want to say that,
No,
but.
So we're talking about pride, which we were kind of finished off on that. I think that definitely, plays in there, some as well.
And it causes stress, and stress and anxiety, and for me, I just bought a house 6 months prior to my suicide attempt, and we weren't married yet. We were 2 weeks away from getting married, and people were messing with me at work, and so I thought I was going to lose my job, and if I lost my job, then I'd lose my fiance, and if I lost my fiance, then I'd lose my house too, and it's just everything. The whole world was coming crashing down really quick.
Yeah. Off of that.
So, for me, that was the beginning. Maybe not the beginning, but that was the first time that I'd been diagnosed with anything, as far as mental health was concerned after the suicide attempt. So,
now you had an incident at work.
What's that?
Before that too, right?
Oh yeah, the shooting.
That was a triggering event too.
Yeah. So what happened was a employee came into the place that I worked and came in during lunch. He didn't report to work at normal time, and he came in and targeted a couple of bosses. One was my age on second shift, and I had just left the facility 20 minutes prior to this happening. I was there late because I was taking my master's class for the first time, and they were on our site to teach the master's program, and so I had just missed it by 20 minutes. In fact, I was on my way home when I got a call from my parents asking if I was okay and if I was out of the facility at the time. So it was pretty scary. He ended up killing one boss, wounding another, and scarring a whole lot of workers mentally. And
you being one, even though you weren't even there.
Yep.
Just the fact that you could have been.
Yep.
Why me and why them, and so there's a whole lot of other stuff
Yeah.
to throw into the mix all in that same moment, in that same time.
Absolutely. I mean, he went up to one of the supervisors and held the gun at her and said, you know, you will call these people to the office or I'm going to shoot you. So she didn't have much of a choice, you know, and he ended up letting her go once she did that, and she tried to warn the people as they came in to the office, but it was too late. So,
Yeah.
you know, you get people out there that don't have respect for life and things.
Yeah. Well, then it just makes you feel like everything's really fragile.
And that's still even the mental thing with that person.
Yeah,
that
that
feels
person's
like they
going
have
through
to.
something, yeah.
Yep.
What he was going through.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
Not like
to get to that
what he
point.
did was okay, but like
No.
that is.
No, he was getting in trouble for smoking pot in the restrooms during work. And so he was thinking he was going to lose his job and everything too, and you know, so
He didn't. Just
yeah,
when your mind starts getting spinning, like
yep,
it goes to different places.
yeah,
And to think that any of us are above certain behaviors is probably a mistake.
Right.
That we're too good to behave a certain way. It's like,
Sure.
man, if you go through certain stuff, like
right. If the right combinations there,
yeah,
and for me that was 2 days of no sleep, you know, full pot of coffee, all this drama going on in my life, and you know, then the suicide attempt was what made sense at the time.
yeah,
You know, and I don't know if I shared it the last time, but I was pretty close to being successful. I had lost 2/3 of my blood and punctured a lung, and you know, so it was pretty close. But I had a lot of people looking out for me that day. So fortunately, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I know one of the benefits with Tall Trainer too, and it took a good month and a half to get going, but it does help your mental state, you know, because I was down in a rut for the past year and a half or so too, just in a depression. And you know, the first month here, it was okay. I'm gonna go every day. I missed like one class because I just couldn't make it in that day, just was down and out. But I made it the rest of the time, and you know, put forth the effort. And then Jeremy gave me a couple tips, and I took him up on that. And you know, the past 2 weeks have been a lot better. I haven't missed any time at work in the past 2 weeks. You know, my mood is getting better. It's not perfect, but I don't know that anybody's ever is.
No,
but
They
it's
need to share their secret.
Yeah, I know, right?
it's getting a lot better. So
Yeah, it definitely does help me too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you manage mental health? 'Cause I mean, you're missing the love of your life. You're trying to
Save a house
save the house, keep things going, run a household,
with daycare.
earn earn
It's
money for that, and
crazy.
and be present for your kids.
And keep the house clean and do the lawn.
Sorry about those things.
You know,
but they factor in.
I try
though.
not to, but I
factor in though.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. My dad helps a lot. He keeps me going. He's like, you can do this. My community helps me a ton, and I feel like if I crash, which is probably not good, but I feel like if I crash, I'm gonna really, really crash, completely lose it. So I just kind of keep slowly chugging along, and I take things one at a time. I just try and focus on one thing. Like before I got here, it's like feed the kids, get the kids to practice, make sure that I'm changed, make sure they have their water, everything right. I mean, it's chaos, but I think I'm doing okay as far as like not letting the kids feel that chaos, you know?
Yeah.
Like in my head, it's chaos, and then I come here and I just get it all out, and it's great. And then I go back, and it was so cute. One day, Sydney, we were driving home. She's like, "You're so happy after Tall Trainer." I mean, it was because Megan Trainor was on too, and those are good songs to sing too.
Absolutely.
But she did. She's like, "You're so happy after you come home." And sometimes it's really hard to get here, and I can be in like an awful mood and not having it. But like you walk in the door and you're like, "Okay, it's my time now," and it's like really some days it's the best hour that I have.
and I don't know how your class is, but I assume they're all pretty much the same, where everybody's super friendly and very inviting and welcoming as you come in the door and stuff. So and cheering you on as you're as you're doing the workouts and things. So it really does become almost like a family.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
a group of people that are on a mission to achieve the same things.
Right.
So.
And I know, I mean, there's been days where I don't want to go, and I'm thankful, like I said, for my parents and stuff because they really help out with the kids.
Mhm.
I forgot totally where I was going with this. I don't even know what else I'm trying to do.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, I think of like exercise sometimes. It's like for me, a lot of times it's sometimes the only time my head is clear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You know,
like,
like,
we're
you're
not
like,
thinking about
like what's
everything.
next? You're like, I just want to make it through this rep.
Right,
You know,
like
I
one more.
I just want to
I
get
can
through
do
this
it.
one
Absolutely.
push here.
Yep, yeah.
And so you when you talk about meditation and stuff like that, it's
Yes.
about being present.
Right.
And like for me, a lot of times, sitting still and like trying to be present
Meditation
is very difficult. The whole gerbil goes
Yes.
really fast,
Yes.
Me too.
really quick.
Yep.
But when I'm exercising a lot of times, I'm like, I just spent an hour.
Mhm.
I didn't think about anything previous to that hour or anything that's coming after that hour.
Right.
I was just working on that hour.
Yeah.
It almost gives you a clean slate to the day
It
to
does.
start over,
Mhm.
and you feel a lot better afterwards. I mean,
I'm sure it is.
even the first month when I would get out of here, I would feel better than I did coming in.
Yeah, even
Oh,
though,
yeah.
even though I was still
even
struggling.
though, even though it's still struggling,
Yeah.
You still felt better for doing it. And that was one thing my wife always pushes me. She says, you got to go today. On days that it's hard
Mhm.
to come in,
Yeah,
and she
yeah,
says,
somebody.
she's like, you got to go because you feel so much better after you go.
Right.
she's-
And also the accountability helps of having to come. I've tried to work out at my house and I've been successful before, but even with groups, like I've done online groups where you're
Yeah,
check-in or whatever, and I can be like, oh yeah, I worked out today, but maybe I really didn't,
Or maybe it was 5 minutes or something.
yeah,
It was
or I barely did
That's
it,
a lot,
I
yeah.
did it,
Uh-huh.
but people are here and they're waiting for you, and
Uh-huh.
so it really helps with that. And I try like meditation. I listen to a lot of podcasts and motivational things. I read a lot. I think those really help.
Mm-hmm.
They really help me keep my mind straight. But
Pour good things in.
yeah, and I can tell like when I don't do that, and I try to get up before my kids too, and just kind of have my own time. That's my own time. And I really try and stick to that. And if I don't do it, I can totally tell throughout the whole day. So those things help me a lot too. But working out is so much better than meditation because it's hard for me to turn my brain off.
Yeah. And if I try to meditate at home, forget it.
Yeah.
Because the kids coming
Yeah,
up
that's
to
why
you
I try
and
to get up
everything else,
early
right?
in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. So it's just not happening.
Yeah, no.
But you come here and you don't have to worry about the kids or anything else
Right.
at that time.
That's the other thing,
So you clear that
I mean, this
time,
is the only
set it
time
up.
that I have to myself. Like honestly,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't even have somebody else there to like help. Yeah.
Like this is my little space.
This is
Yeah.
my time.
Like I get to exist.
Yeah,
You know, during
exactly.
this
I'm an
window,
actual
like,
person. My name is not
I'm
mom.
I'm not husband. I'm not father. I'm not worker.
Yeah.
I'm just here. I'm not mom. I'm just Erin,
Yeah.
and I'm just here.
And I think it would help too, like if you think about that as you walk in, because there's some days like I walk in and I'm still like, oh, but Andrew always is like, hey, Erin, how's it going? So, and it's just like everything just goes away. I'm like, well, I had a rough day today, but it's better now,
Yeah.
So it just kind of floats away.
Working in there.
But yeah.
All right, so let's kind of finish with from a wife's perspective. Speak into to Brent's situation. From maybe his wife's perspective there on, because you get to experience
Yeah.
your husband going through, challenges and things like that.
Because Joe actually also, he overdosed 3 times. So I found him 3 times not breathing and had to call the ambulance.
Uh-huh.
So.
So you didn't necessarily know that that lesson was the one
Yeah.
until.
When I saw him,
Oh, it was after a little while.
Yeah.
It was far enough. Okay.
I mean, I was pretty sure. Just that I think your wife, you're married now, right?
Yes.
Your wife, I'm sure, is there to
Got 2
help
kids.
you. 2 kids, yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to help you as much as they can. And like if they're saying, I want to help you, and you don't, like I would always say, I want to help you, but I don't know how. And Joe would just be like, you're doing fine. You're doing exactly what you need to do. And I didn't feel like that worked,
Mhm.
to be honest, to
You
try
wanna feel
and
like
be. it was so hard for Joe to talk about his feelings, though. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of bottle it all up.
Yeah, that was Joe too, always. And I was just always like that loving, I just wanted him to just open up. Even in counseling, he wouldn't open up. It was very, very hard for him. I think it was that pride thing.
Yeah, I hate counseling.
Yeah. He had a lot of it. I don't know if you've had a lot of it too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, once we started to go together, it really started to change a lot. And it was really good for us because he would say that he didn't feel worthy of being a father. And was the most fantastic father, you know. It was a lot in his head, and I don't know, but just know that she cares about you, and I don't know if she was like me, I would totally fly off the handle sometimes and be like, that's it, and blah, 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 but I was always there for him no matter what, and all I wanted to do was help him, always, and be there, and he would lie to me a lot, because it was hard for him to even admit, like, he only actually admitted to me, like, a handful of times that he was an addict, but we both knew it, but for him to admit it, it was...
To actually speak it out loud. It was tough for him to say, maybe only in his lowest of moments.
Right, and I think it's because, it put him down. It's not putting you down. Like, it was so hard. It's that stigma, you know? It's so hard.
All right. How much would you wish to still be in the struggle with him?
Every day I wish that I was still struggling with
it. It was still hard and tough, and he was going in and out.
Because he would still be here.
Oh, yeah, because he'd still...
Yeah. And, there was always good days. There were some really bad days, but there were some really great days. And my kids, that's the part that gets me the worst, is that my kids don't have their dad. And that was, I found some papers of Joe's, when he was in rehab. And his biggest fear was always to not be here for his family. And he's not here for his family. So that, the kids, yeah.
Sometimes, from my perspective, I feel like that they would be better off without me too, and things,
I think Joe would think that sometimes too. And he would actually say that to me, you guys would be better off without me.
Putting stress on them.
But I can tell you, I'm there, I'm without him, and it would have been so much better fighting with him. So much better. Not easier. It's not easy either way, I guess, but...
Just keep fighting the good fight, because it sounds like you're doing everything you can do to keep going, but try and make some more time for yourself other than just working out. Maybe just, even if it's only a half hour a day, to get away and do something that you enjoy doing, reading a book or something, or whatever you like to do. Have some time for yourself too, because you got a lot on your plate.
Oh yeah. You too. Do you make time for yourself too now besides working out, or?
Not really. I need to take my own advice.
It's good advice. It's good to give advice. I catch myself all the time giving advice to people, being like, all right, I'm working on that too.
And the thing is too, when I take time for myself, my mind is still going. I don't know how to get away from that. I don't know if the same thing happens to you. When I work out, but...
Yeah, when I work out, it's a different story. It just shuts off.
Yeah.
And you just you focus on the workout,
I heard somebody talking about mountain biking as in a similar way.
Yes, that's
when you're mountain biking on a trail or something like that, you're just in the tunnel.
Right.
Yeah, because if you don't pay attention,
you're gonna wipe out.
You'll be very uncomfortable. And so it gets you in the moment. And so maybe not mountain bike, but maybe some other activities.
The kids and I have been doing that.
Water skiing.
Yep.
Water skiing,
Would probably be one of those things.
Yeah, you're pretty focused on.
When you're up on the water, you're not golly, taxes are gonna be really rough this year,
Exactly.
We're gonna have here's I'm on the water.
I did most of my water skiing in my younger days, the good stuff anyway, and so a lot of it was, are there girls up there I can impress or show off to, so that was what you were focused on.
Hitting the barefoot moves right there. Absolutely. I think that's how many things happen. I hear songs sometimes in class, and I think, you know what? Most songs would not exist if it wasn't for guys trying to impress some girls.
That's right.
I was like, there would be very little music
That's
without
especially country.
without that. Especially especially that, you know, the whole guys want to be out of there.
Yeah.
So most of it, almost all of it is based on that. Well, thank you guys for, you know, for taking this time. You know, I just wanted to, I want to try to connect those two sides. I just really saw that kind of both could speak to different. I mean, we all have our own mental health stuff to work on, but I saw like a wife-husband dynamic and a husband-wife dynamic, and you know, different things.
And the different sides. It's interesting, but
Yep.
you know, I think you know how that. I mean, you know how the other person feels, maybe.
Yep.
Like you know that she's there for you, and she just wants to help you, and actually everybody around you really wants to help you, and to, you know, not be afraid. That's the biggest thing. The stigma of all these bad problems needs to just go away, because everybody has something.
Right.
And then getting help is not a bad deal.
Right.
That's a tough thing. So that's what pride comes into.
Absolutely.
You know, as being like, I'm struggling today. It's like, it's tough to say.
It is tough to say. One thing I've been better at that, like, I'm having a hard day. I even tell my kids, like, today is a bad day for mommy. I'm trying to work on my attitude and make it better, but I'm letting you know that I'm having a hard day. And I think it helps them to know, okay. You know? And they even do the same with me, you know. I mean, obviously I can tell when my kids are having a bad day.
Yeah,
but for them to say, Mommy, I'm having a bad day. Something is wrong with me. I don't feel right. It's so good for them. And then, you know, well, what can we do? Sit down and have some time together, or, you know, whatever. Think about what they need in that moment, and then go from there, and it helps.
Sure.
Just like you, like if you're struggling, or I wish Joe would do that, like instead of racing off to do the bad things, if he just sat and thought, okay, you know, I'm going to tell Erin that this is how I feel, and know that I'm not judging him, and that I want to try and help him, you know?
Right.
One thing I found, like looking at like addiction and things like that, because I've looked into it, you know, quite a bit, and like when you, as we were about to go towards the addicted whatever, you know, like some people with cell phones,
cell phone,
food, alcohol, drugs, you know, work. You know, as we were about to throw ourselves into that, usually it's in response to like those strong feelings, you know, that we're having. You know, either it's, you know, it's most often on the low side of things. Sometimes celebratory, but a lot of times on this low side are an anxious feeling. You know, and there's like this, there's stuff, and there's the dribbles running around like it's nonstop. And you know, reading one of the books here, they're talking about how in that moment, that feeling is supposed to push us into other people, to talk to them. You know, it's supposed to push us into the people and relationships, and you talk to somebody, and like in that process of talking to somebody, getting support from somebody, a lot of those same endorphins and things like that, like those things, like it settles it.
Right. And like I think as a society we're taught to not have problems, like you know what I mean? So when that happens, they have to, instead of talking to somebody, which is what we should be doing, we try to fix it ourselves, and that's
part of the problem there from mental health standpoint too is, you know, for me, I get paranoid, like really bad paranoia, where I think everybody's out to get me, and you know, even to the point where my wife's not on my side or whatever, and things like that. And you know, when I'm thinking clearly as I am now, you know, I know she's there to support me and loves me and everything else. But when you're in the moment of extreme paranoia, where you're afraid you're going to get arrested for not doing anything wrong, but it makes perfect sense at the time. You know, it's hard to reach out to people because you can't trust anybody. Even though there's plenty of people you could trust and talk to, you know, in that moment.
Do you think though, if you knew that there was more people like that, it would help, or you think it would just be the same? I just wonder that, like if people
I think there's a lot of people that are like that. You know, it's
like vulnerability, like Brene Brown, she's like huge on the vulnerability and like showing your vulnerability. If more people showed their vulnerability, I think that would be huge for our
it does help.
I mean, I share it with some of the people I work with, you know, my story and things, and oh man, you know, I don't quite have that same experience, but I'm going through something like that too. You know, and you find that there's some there's some common ground there that we all share some kind of burden or struggle that we're dealing with. And so it's nice to know that there's other people out there in the same boat, and you know.
But everybody mostly hides it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so like
If you could solve the world's problems, you know? It's tough.
Just being real.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have any last things that I say maybe from like a husband's perspective, you know, into
Well, that was helpful. I think
hers.
like the like where he just like he couldn't even like he felt like everybody was to get him in. He couldn't even like express himself, and I think Joe would get like that too. Like he felt like, you know, she's not gonna understand. It's just your brains. It's
Yeah,
just your
it's a
brains.
chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
Is what it is. So like you can't take it personal.
Right,
And
and I
don't
never
and
did.
don't, because you did the
Mhm.
best you could do in the
Yeah.
situation, and just because he didn't reach out to you in his time of need,
Yeah.
it's not a reflection on you didn't care
Oh,
enough
yeah.
about him. That's not what happened there.
Yeah,
So,
I am at peace with that, and I think that's why I am doing so okay, is that we dealt with it for a long time, and I made sure to learn about it and, you know, go in counseling with him. So I know, you know, I don't put anything on myself,
That's
but
good.
it's still hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard
Oh, yeah,
not to,
it's-
you
yeah.
know? Like, what if I
Yeah.
did this, or what if I did that?
Yeah, but you can't second guess it.
But
because,
he was a lot like that. Joe was a lot like that too, where his I mean, you could totally tell it was in his brain, which is a sad part, you know?
Yeah, it's a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Day by day.
Yeah. And for you to be here is amazing. Like, that's one thing that Joe always wanted to get to the point of, like, working out and doing something good for his body and focusing on himself a little bit more. And he just wouldn't take the time to do it. So I give you huge props. I know it's gotta be hard for you too, you know? Still got a lot on your shoulders. So,
But it helps. It helps with what's on my shoulders.
right, once you start, right, it's
Yeah.
always like,
Yeah.
why did I not do this before?
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, thank you guys for being vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for doing that, and you know, that may allow other people to start having some conversations, you know, to start talking about some of this stuff, and be real with each other, and deal with the stuff that's going on in their head, skeletons in the closet, you know, any of those kind of things, so that way they just feel better,
Yeah.
can enjoy some of the good moments, and you know, you can never avoid some of the bad times.
Right.
But maybe to be able to enjoy some of the good times, you know, in there, that we have a few more of them.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks a bunch.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.